This one has been another challenge. I continued on and I found about 5 other places where either the connection was made to chassis ground rather than the floating ground, plus a couple that were just connected to the wrong place in general. So I finally got it working.
Any fat people in the church? Yeah. Well, ain't afraid. Okay, all right. Okay.
And it's playing. Bands 2 and 3 are working pretty good. Band 1 is still, the broadcast band is still not working. It looks like not only was the antenna coil on band 1 blowed out, but it looks like maybe the winding on the oscillator coil was also blown out. So I got to think about how that could have happened if lightning got into, because generally speaking they're isolated from each other. But I'm going to have to study that diagram a little bit and see if that surge could have come up through the secondary as well. Band 3, I haven't heard anything, band 4 rather, I haven't heard anything on. But I believe it's working. It's getting on about 4:30 here on the East Coast, and band 4 ought to come alive here pretty soon and pick up something. I'll come back down here after a while and after it gets dark and see if I can get anything on band 4. 2 and 3 working good. 4 I think is working. But broadcast band is still bad, and I believe to goodness it's the oscillator coil or oscillator winding on the broadcast band. And it's after dark, and band 4 has woken up here.
Of course, as technology...
I was just sure that the oscillating coil for the broadcast band had also been taken out, but I kept measuring and it just looked like that coil was okay. And finally I figured out there's this, when I got this opened up, this radio, this wire here was just dangling. But there's supposed to be a trimmer cap that goes right here where I've got this mica cap in here. So I figured, well, that went to the other end of the cap, and the variable cap, and the other end goes down here. So I hooked that up, but I got to tracing again and figured out this wire is supposed to go to terminal 15 over here. 16, 17, 15, and then to the barrel cap and down to here. So that's the reason it wouldn't oscillate. So now I've got it oscillating. In fact, I can look at it here on the scope. And you can see it changing, the oscillation frequency changing as I vary the tuning dial. So now I figured that out. This is supposed to be a 523 picofarad variable. I've already gone into my junk box and I probably got 1,000 of these little trimmer caps in there, but I didn't have anything that high. So this is a 510. I'm going to try to find something a little bit lower than that and put a variable in parallel with it and see if I can make it work. This trimmer here is to tune the lower end of the broadcast band. This one up here tunes the high end. And so anyway, I'm going to try to fix that. Okay, what I ended up with here, that's about a 30 to 60 picofarad trimmer, and the capacitor ended up at 390, I believe. Let me point to it here. This mica here about 390, and this trimmer about 30 to 60, and the combination was exactly what I needed to tune the 600 kc into the broadcast band. And so we have radio.
Things play out. Give these young guys a chance. I think the Patriots realized they never should have promised Rod Mayo the job.
That buzz coming from LED lights plus, and I'm not sure which is the worst. We have got a power line coming down to my house, and one of the insulators is leaking and getting a little spark off of that. I've tried to get a power company to fix it, but so far no luck. But I'm in a very rural area. I say that every time. I get very few AM stations during the day. So the fact that I'm picking up some stations pretty well means that this receiver is doing very well on the broadcast band. The only thing I'm a little dissatisfied with is the performance on band 4, but I don't know that these things did very well on band 4 right out of the box. So I think I have solved all the problems. Been working on this one for 3 or 4 days, figuring out a lot of bad connections, a lot of things connected to chassis ground rather than floating ground, some things just connected in the wrong place altogether. Had to rewind the primary on the antenna coil for the broadcast band. I've lost track of everything I had to do to this radio to get her going. Underneath a little sloppy because I'm just constantly moving things around and tacking things on, and that's the way it is sometimes. So now I'll go to work on the cabinet. Cabinet's got some big dents in it. Pretty bad. Well, actually the finish is not that bad, but it's got some dents in it and a few rusty spots, so I'm just going to repaint it and put some new decals on it. See how it turns out. I sandblasted both of these radio cabinets. for S38C number 1 and S38C number 2. Got both of these restorations going on here at the same time. And I filled some of the bad places that were on these cabinets. And there's one here I've got to do something with. Looks like somebody drilled a hole, maybe for, I don't know what it was for. Maybe a headphone jack or something, but I need to fill that. First of all, I'm going to put a piece of flashing behind it, not super glue it, but JB weld it on the back, and then fill it with body putty. So I've got that to do, but radios are working, just got to finish these cabinets now. On the geojohn.org website, he had another schematic for another BFO. This one just uses an IF transformer, a little transistor radio IF transformer. And I hate those LED stripes, but that's the way it is. Let me turn on this overhead lamp. Yeah, that helps a little bit, I think. Well, maybe not. Anyway, this one uses just a transistor radio IF. Now, what's great about that is you don't have to wind that toroid. So I said, I'm going to try one of those. Now, in his writing, he didn't like this one as much. He said it drifted. But I've built it. I don't see any more drift. I mean, the radio drifts. Not much. All the S38s are going to drift. So I built it and I put it in. And here it is right here on this little terminal strip. Only thing I'm a little curious about, you derive the voltage to run this little BFO off of pin 8 of the 50L6, which is the cathode. It's the bias voltage, and that works fine. But of course, when you turn it off, it actually, since that's an open circuit, then it applies 5 volts to the grid of the tube, but I don't see any performance difference. So anyway, it works, and it's actually a little bit stronger than the one that used the toroid. Just got the radio tuned to a real low signal shortwave station, and in fact it might be just a little too strong. I'm going to see what I can do about toning it down a little bit, but I like this one better. It's a whole lot simpler to build. I built that thing in probably 30 minutes and didn't have to wind a toroid. So I bought, you look on eBay, there's a guy on there that sells, you get 4 of these little transistor radio IFs for like $12, $14, something like that. And there are at least 2 of them in there that you can use for this circuit. So I like it, and I'm going to put one in the other S38 I'm working on. So I wasn't very happy with this arrangement on this BFO. with using the single pole, single throw switch that's in the radio. I wanted to isolate the BFO from the rest of it, and that's going to require a double pole, double throw. So I disassembled the original switch. I've got plenty of these double pole, double throw slide switches, but they've all got black handles. I disassembled both, thinking maybe I could take that red actuator, made it to this other one, but no way. The designs are totally different. I've thought of a lot of other ways and none of them seem practical, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this black one and see how it works. I'll first put a little primer on it. I'll probably sand it just a little bit, put some primer on it, and then paint it red and hope it holds. So let's see how that works. I cleaned it and primed it with some automotive primer. I'll turn around, I need to get some more primer on the other side of that. I'll let that dry, lightly sand it, and see if I can put some red paint on it. All done, and it worked out great. The new one is on the left, the original is on the right, and the new one is, the paint I had is just a tiny bit darker than the original, and the button is shaped a little different, but it's not a black knob, so I think this is going to work out great. Well, I got it in there, and there it is, and you can see right now, you can ought to be able to hear. Speaker's pretty good ways away from the camera, so you might not be able to hear it right now, but just spare them. So let me turn on the VFO here.
Yeah, right. $900. $1,800 is what they cost. But he said he was going to check with the doctor and so forth and all like that there, and sometimes.
Okay, works beautiful. Now for something completely different. I'm going to try making my own bottoms and backs for these S38s. I happen to have some other S38s here that have original backs and bottoms, so use that as a template. This is board you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's actually, people I think put it in low-cost bathrooms and all. It's a fiber board with a slick white side, but the back side is still fiber, so I can paint that black, paint both sides black after I get this thing cut. So I'm going to put this on this board, and I'm going to make me a template, draw it out here, and then attempt to cut this out. And I got it all drawn out on this board, and I got it laying on a piece of 2x6 here. And I've got a nice big sharp wood chisel, And I got a set of Harbor Freight hole punches. And so I'm going to see if I can't cut this. This is the bottom plate. This should be the easiest one. I'll start on that. The backer has got about, I don't know, 100, 200 bent holes in it. It's got to be punched. That one's going to be tough. There it is. It ain't perfect, but it ain't $30. That's what these things cost online by the time you pay the shipping. So if you put a front and a back on, you up to $60, and most of these S38s ain't worth that. So I'm gonna paint it black, and I think it'll be just fine. There it is. That ain't bad. A little rough around the edges, but that's going to do just fine. And I got the big labels, or at least I can print the big labels on my printer to put on the bottom of it. But I think next time I've got to make another one of these, and I got to make 2 backs. I don't think I'm going to do it with a chisel. I think I'm going to try it on my table saw. I believe I can. I got to test it first and see how bad it ruffles up the edges, but I don't think it will. I think I'm going to saw these straight edges with table saw. And then this back cover, I don't know how many holes is in that one, but I think I'll try to drill those. Hope it don't fray the edges too much. We'll see. So this time I'm going to try it using a table saw and a drill. And this time I marked it on the side that looks like fiberboard. The other side's got that white slick finish on it, because I found that when you're cutting or sawing or drilling on this board, it tends to, I think I got a little sample right here, when the bit comes through, it tends to tear up like that. So you don't want that on the side that shows. Be better on the other side. So I'm going to do all my cutting and drilling from this side. Also, this is a wood bit. I bought this set Harbor Freight years ago. Never used them, but they've got a kind of a special tip on them for sawing wood. And I find that it makes a real neat hole as long as you drill from this side. When it comes out the other side, it's going to do like that. So I'm going to try sawing this on my table saw and drilling with that bit, drilling these adjustment holes with that bit, and see if it's a lot easier and if it didn't turn out a lot better. That is definitely the right way to do this job. I cut all of those with table saw, and it makes really nice crisp straight edges. These holes, they do great, except for when they come through the other side, and it doesn't matter because this is a hidden side, and I can take and clean those out just fine, and this is the way to do it. So now I'm going to try to make one for the back. That's got about 1,000 round holes in it for ventilation. That's going to be a dog. This back has got 370 holes in it. It took me about 30 minutes to mark all of them. No telling how long it's going to take me to drill them. But we're going to go at it and see how it works out. Well, this hole drilling thing didn't work out at all. First of all, you can see right here, they're not in a straight line. I was trying to do it by sight. So what I had to do was I had to clamp a guide on the drill press, and so then I was able to keep a straight line. However, this board leaves a lot to be desired for this purpose, because on the back side, as the bit pushes through, it pushes the back side and delaminates that board and made a mess. So I thought about it, and I think I've come up with a solution. What I did with these holes right here, now they're not in a straight line either, but I got a solution for that when I go to do it. I take a small bit and I start on the back side. I start on this side, and I drill a pilot hole every one of these marks. Then I turn it over and I take the size bit that it takes to make that hole, and I just barely touch it to that surface. That breaks that hard finish there, kind of peels it away. I don't go all the way through. Then I come back over on this side and finish drilling the hole out. And that makes for a pretty clean hole. So I'm going to have to make me another back. These are no trouble to make. Once I figured that out, you can do this on a table saw. These right here, I'm going to have to punch out, or at least punch the ends out with a round punch, and then with a chisel cut the straight edge. That's the only way I'll be able to do those. So I'm going to make me another back, and I'm going to try that drilling method, which I can do with a hand drill. And when I do it with a hand drill, it's a lot easier and a lot quicker than fooling with it in a drill press. So let's try that solution. I've got this back clamped to this piece of fiberboard, and this is the way I mark those holes. Just got a fairly sharp point Sharpie here, and I just stick it in there and make a dot everywhere there's supposed to be a hole. This is my new way of doing this. I've got the fiberboard all marked up here. You can see the lines I've drawn around it here, and you can see I've marked where there has to be a vent hole. I think there's 380 of them got to be drilled, and I think I've come up with a good technique for doing that better than the first one I tried. So let's go to work on it. Finally finished this S38C. This is just one of two I'm restoring. Both of them were parts only radios. I bought at some flea market or something. This one didn't have any knobs. The antenna coil on the broadcast band was burnt out, probably lightning. No bottom, no back. The paint and all was in terrible shape, so I painted it. I used this hammer tone, Rust-Oleum hammer tone, and when I first sprayed it on there, I said, this ain't gonna do, this is terrible looking stuff. And it doesn't look anything like the original, but it'll protect it. And then once I got the decals on it, and you got these pretty little red switches, and I painted the Hallicrafters thing red. I've seen them online like that. I don't know if Hallicrafters ever did that or not, but I've seen several of these radios online that other people have restored, and it was red. So once you get all that red on here and the decals, as I said, I made those knobs. I not only made those knobs, but I made this back. I drilled all those holes. I forget how many. It was 80 some, I think. No more than that. But I made that back, and I made this bottom. Put those new decals on there. Even bought black screws and washers so it looked more like the original. New feet, new rubber feet. And it actually plays. That's band 4, the highest band. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon, so you're not going to pick up much on these higher bands. But I also made another BFO. As most anybody knows anything about these S38s, the BFOs in them weren't much, so I made a BFO on a board, and so now you got a good strong BFO. So this one's finished. Kind of proud of it. As I said, it's not original, but it's nice. So now I'll go finish up S38C number 2. And as I said originally, I don't know how many of these things I've got. I pick them up at ham radio flea markets, and I like the junk ones, them things that are missing a lot of parts. Buy them cheap, sometimes $5 a piece. And I got a bunch of them, and so I'm going to do some more of them just for the fun of it.